Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Room podcast, the Spoilercast podcast, where we talk about movies, video games and TV show seasons and we spoil the shit out of them. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler, joined as always by James.
As always, how's it going, my friend?
Very good, James, very good. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
That's good. That's great to hear. You've just woken up after a long rest of Horsey and Fox last night.
Yep.
So raring to go for some beautiful cinema connoisseuring. Oh mate, neither can I, because today we're talking about season 1 of Netflix's The Witcher. It was voted on in the poll for the next episode of the Cinema Room by our great patrons. For $10 plus, you get to decide the content. You get to be involved in the polls that tell us what show or movie or game or topic we're going to cover next on Cinema Room. Well, not topic. It's definitely always going to be, fucking a movie or a show or a game. Anyway, yeah, so that's the thing. And if you like what you're listening to here and you want to hear more, of course, you can get this podcast a week's early access on patreon.com/as always for just $1 a month. You become an As Always member, you get that. Plus, over 75 episodes of exclusive Clubhouse podcast content. Is the best podcast on the internet, so I highly recommend you check it out. Plus, lots of other bonus perks and rewards. Again, thank you to our Patreon producers for making this show happen. It wouldn't happen without you. That's Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, DIDDLOTIC, and Seth. We appreciate the hell out of you guys for supporting us. And, you're the reason we do 3 podcasts. It wouldn't happen without you. Is that a blessing or a curse? I don't know. Depends what day you're asking James and I that, to be totally honest with you. But it's a blessing right now. It's nothing but excitement. Nothing but excitement. I'm psyched to be talking about The Witcher 3. There is a new producer, however...
DIDDLOTIC.
DIDDLOTIC is now a producer, I believe.
Also, there's some people with declined payments, but that's all good. Whatever.
Hopefully we sort it out actually by the time this episode comes out, but right now it's not. Because we record Cinema Rooms a week before they come out on Patreon, let alone a week before they come out to the public. So, we're 2 weeks out from the public even hearing this episode. Because that's just how it be sometimes, James. Anyway, thank our sweet vintage lads from the $5 tier up, that you get the cred. It's a beautiful tier, and we'll read the list. We have Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, DIDDLOTIC, Seth, Ballsack47, Casey Wood, Pink Flame 313, Adam Sundling, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, Mario 5380, cock, James, I had to read it. The Creed, Josh J. Anderson, welcome Josh. He's new to Patreon. We have Brendan Obiku, Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik Gaming, Summer Dillon, another new patron. Welcome, and welcome Zickson, another new patron this month. Benedict Parker returns, Durose Bully in the Alley, Max H. Gene, Owen Brayne, Zeek Collins, Harrissey, Batassassin, Noah Watts, FuriousCoco, Sab 2557, the ACMJS, Kacper Korol, Kassassin, Kyle S. Sjors, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Walshy, welcome Walshy, new sweet vintage lad, Ginko Swag, that's how it be sometimes, Mass the Bass, Ashton is a big fan of Mace Windu the character, Amir the Synth Potato, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe, A.K.A FoundedScarab, Iron Man's for the Dads, Luca, Brian Ford, Fishy, and Ben Fryer. Thanks to Sweet Vintage Lads.
Nice.
For helping power this podcast. The first reading of the list of the month, even though it's not technically. It actually is, so it's always hard with all the new names. But here we are.
Yeah, and with some fucking declines as well. So you never know who's going to get that fixed, or Patreon will fix it, in like a week's time or something. So
Patreon always fixes it. But I'm going to, I'll send out some messages like I normally do.
Yeah,
just to kind of remind people, because I don't want people to miss. Well, I don't want people to miss out on rewards they want.
Yeah,
if you're a producer, you want to be read out, and they're like, "Why the fuck don't I get read out? Well, your payment declined." They're like, "Oh, that was a mistake." Usually, it's Patreon's fault.
Yeah.
If Luma could sort that out, that'd be that'd be great. Anywho, that's just banter. Anywho, James, we're talking about The Witcher, the TV show.
It's taking
not the
over.
Book series, not the video game series. The show, it is taking over, James. You are correct. The Witcher is taking over. I'm absolutely ecstatic to talk about it. So the first thing I want to ask you, James, is tell us a bit about your history with the Witcher franchise, from whether it be the books or the games, and what you kind of expected going into the show. Where do you stand with The Witcher before the show?
Okay.
And then leading to the show?
Well, before the show, I'd never read any of the books, although I own 3 of them because someone sent them to me in a P.O. Box video once. I just haven't had a chance to read them. But before The Witcher 3 came out, it was a game I was like really looking forward to, and I played a bit of The Witcher 1, but I was running out of time before The Witcher 3 came out to play The Witcher 2 as well. So I played a bit of The Witcher 1, had a little look at a story recap or whatever, and then I played The Witcher 2 through, and then when The Witcher 3 came out, which was incidentally on my 18th birthday, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Just a fun little piece of gaming trivia for you there.
Yeah, that's some real gaming trivia. That's an as always fun fact.
Yep, exactly. That can go on our Wikipedia page. That'd be good.
I didn't know those existed still.
And so I played The Witcher 3 when it launched and fucking loved it and played through the whole thing. And it's, one of the games, I think it's still in my top 5 games of all time. I think it's definitely in my top 5 of all time still. I love The Witcher 3 as a game. I love The Witcher as a universe. I love Geralt as a character. I love all of the characters. It's got great lore. It's a very interesting world. And adapting video games to movies has always been something that when you look at it is normally like a no-go. You normally
almost
don't
exclusively do that. Terrible idea and terribly executed. Almost
very
exclusively.
And so when you see they're doing a Netflix series on The Witcher, you're like, okay, well, obviously it's because the game series is so popular now, it makes sense to do it, but they're following the story of the books. Books are a lot easier to adapt, and also, we're not adapting to movie, we're adapting to TV show, therefore, it should be better, but I still expect
long form. Well, you're dealing with long form, right? Like,
exactly.
It's a total different aspect.
It's a lot easier to do. And I to be honest, I still thought it's probably gonna suck though. Like, I wasn't expecting much, and after everything we'd seen as well, like
because there's a lot of marketing. Did you? The first thing we saw were those like character photos. What were your feeling after those character photos they'd done?
It was like it looked like cheap, to be honest. Like when I saw it, I was like, I don't know if I'm into it. It looked weird, and there was that test footage of like Henry Cavill just sort of like in the wig and outfit without any proper makeup, or like there was like it wasn't it was just sort of him like just wandering around set with a wig, and it was like, okay, this looks weird. And on top of that, you've got like the Nilfgaard armor that just looks really boring and weird and nothing like it does in we don't know what it looks like in the books necessarily because it's a book, but the games it's way more like interesting and whatnot. But and the writer and stuff talking about how the making the characters the correct races from the books doesn't matter because representation's more important and all this bullshit. Like it was another one of those stories, and it was like I don't know what to think here. Like it looks a bit weird, and the writer almost sounds like she doesn't care about the integrity of the Witcher as a franchise.
Right.
And so I think it was worrying to, it's a franchise that I really like, and I wanted it to be really good, but it sounded like it was not going to be very good before coming out. That's my history with The Witcher. What's your history with The Witcher, Tyler? Tyler?
Oh, sorry. You're cutting out hard for me. Cutting out hard for me.
Oh no. What's happening? Is it okay now, or is it still fucked? Oh no.
Alright. Sorry. Yeah, you were cutting out before. I just jumped broadband. I think that's my fault. Anyway, my history with The Witcher, James, is...
Yes.
The first time I'd heard of The Witcher was when The Witcher 2 was coming to... It was already on PC, but it was coming to Xbox 360. And I was like, I've heard about this, a fantasy RPG. Yeah, I'll give it a go. It looked cool from the like Xbox 360 trailer. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And I bought it, knew nothing really about the story or anything, and I played a couple hours of Witcher 2. And I kind of thought, nah, I don't know what's happening. I don't know who anyone is. I don't know what's happened previous to this. And it played like a PC game. Like, I was like, this feels like it was built on, like, to be played on PC. The way the HUD and the menus worked, it just didn't feel really good on a console.
Yeah, it definitely is like that.
So I didn't really get into it, and I probably stopped playing after 3 hours, I'd say, into The Witcher 2, and I just stopped playing. And then I just forgot about it. Witcher 3 came out, and I was like, yeah, why would I play The Witcher 3 when it's the third game in a franchise now, when I didn't understand anything in the second game, why to play it, and everyone talked about how amazing it was and great, and I was like, I'm happy, I'm really glad it's that awesome, but I was like, nah, I'm not really that fussed on it for a long time, for a long time, and my main reason being, and I stand by it, is I don't know the characters, I don't know the world, I don't know the story, I'm not jumping in the third game, and I still stand by that. However, I've then watched the show. What a great entry point for me. I don't need to have played the games to understand the show. It's the beginning, in a lot of ways, of the book stories. Because the first two books are just a lot of short stories.
Yeah.
And that's what this was based off. So I was like, all right, give it a go. I watched the show, and let's just say now I'm playing The Witcher 3, and it makes a lot more sense to me, and I'm enjoying the game because I know the characters now. It was my entry point. So that's my history of The Witcher leading up to it and beyond. So... obviously, I somewhat enjoyed the show, right? But yeah, that's my history. The history of The Witcher. That's my history of The Witcher. Now, you start the show, James. You load it up. You load up your Netflix. Are you nervous? Are you expecting, nah, this isn't going to be good? Where are we at the moment it's actually out? Have you, at this point, kind of been convinced because you've heard good things? Like, I'd started hearing good things about it.
Yeah, that was it. I think it was people on Discord, because I watched it the day it came out. I don't fucking remember. But anyway, I know I'd heard good things from somewhere. People were saying, oh, wow, it's shockingly good. And, like, people were saying, like, it's really fucking good. Like, this could be, like, the next Game of Thrones. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. So maybe I have a bit more hope. So I wasn't going into it with pure despair of, like, this is going to be a fucking joke. And going into it, it's... immediately, I think you realize just how good it's gonna be. I think it sets the tone. I think it sets up the world, and it gets you into it, and you're like, okay, this is actually a good show. And I think they understand exactly what they're doing, and they're going in a good direction, which was really shocking. And it sort of brings you along on that ride for the rest of the season.
Well, in the first episode, the opening is Geralt killing a monster, and then he's in an inn, and you see how Geralt's just treated in the world and what a Witcher is, and how they interact with the world. So, in that moment, was that the moment straight away you knew? You were like, oh, this is a good start, this is what you need to do for The Witcher? Like, where were you at? Because for me, it's very obviously different, because it took me, I didn't know any of the world, or any of the characters, so, like, I knew of Geralt, obviously. Like, I knew Geralt, I knew what he sounded like, and straight away I was like, holy shit, Henry Cavill sounds like Geralt from the games, or at least he's doing a really good rendition of it where that sounds like Geralt. Yeah. But it still took me an episode or two to be like, I'm in, right? So how long did it take you? Was it a bit quicker than that?
I think the first scene where you see him fighting the monster just looked really nice, and I was expecting the whole thing to look like really cheap and shit, because it's like a video game adaptation, or well, it's a book adaptation, but you know what I mean. And so it looked really great from the start, and then seeing Geralt go into the inn, like, the world felt really nice and convincing and real. It didn't feel like a terribly, like, CGI backdropped world, like, you know, some things like that can feel. And when he goes into the inn, and you hear how not even just the way that Henry Cavill speaks as Geralt, but like the inflections he uses, and like the way that he conducts himself and everything. Like, the writing felt very close to how Geralt should be, and like seeing how they've nailed how the world treats witches and everything. Like, everything felt very Witcher, and that had me hooked. I was like, okay, this feels like this could be good. And over the course of the first episode, there were, you know, several moments that make it feel really, it feels right. One of those moments is when Geralt's talking to Roach, and he talks to him. He says, like, he's telling him the story about when he killed his first monster, and the story is just that it was just a normal guy that was trying to rape somebody, and it shows Geralt's moral sort of code that he has, where witches aren't supposed to intervene with things like that. They're not supposed to take the law into their own hands. They're just monster killers. But Geralt's different in that sense, where he fights for the downtrodden, and he'll do the right thing in certain situations. And It's just a very Geralt thing to do. On top of that, talking to his horse again, that's just another very Geralt thing. And it just felt like they got The Witcher through all of it. And I think that's obviously, to me, it resonated with me quicker because I played The Witcher 1, I played The Witcher 2, and I played The Witcher 3. So I could immediately see that they were getting Geralt right, at least from the what I knew of him from the games anyway, which was, it just felt really special.
Yeah. It's definitely a character I was able to attach to very quickly because, like you said, what they explain so well is that, and Geralt says it, like, you know, actions speak louder than words. So Geralt's words were always, you know, in the show, especially early on, I don't get involved in human quarrels, I don't get involved in this and this and that, but then he always does.
Yeah.
He always got involved in stuff, he always did, like you said, the right thing every time.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the situation. He's a keen observer, right? He's an outsider in every social circumstance, and you see that from the moment we meet Geralt and he interacts with other humans, is that he's an outsider. So in every situation you see, and you can even see, and what Henry Cavill does so well in the show is you literally can see on his face him processing situations and observing them, and then from there he decides, you know, he takes that time to be like, hey, what's really happening? What's the right thing to do here? And he does it even if it won't make people, even won't get him money, even if it'll screw up a job. Like, he does what's right above all else.
Yeah.
And like you said, you see it many, many times in the show. But Geralt as a character, there's so many great qualities about him. So he's someone easy to latch onto, especially early on, right, in the show.
Yeah, for sure. He's a very, and a lot of people I've seen of criticisms of The Witcher 3, which I think is a weird criticism, is that Geralt's boring, and like because of the way he speaks and the way he talks. But Geralt is such a complex, relatable character. The way that he says that he doesn't have emotions because of the Witcher thing that they do to him, the mutations, but in reality, he's one of the most human humans that there is, and that's the point of his character. And it's so interesting to see this character that people think has no emotions and is an outcast that really does fight for the people and is very human. And that's why he's such a compelling character, and I think they nail that in the show so very well. And it's one of the reasons why it's so easy to latch onto him from the start, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way, especially someone that's, you know, like I've said a couple of times, you know, I didn't play the games first. The show's what's drawn me into the Witcher series. And a big thing, we'll get into the other characters in this first episode in a minute, but I want to talk about, in the first episode, something The Witcher does so well that sets the tone for the rest of the show is action.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's the fight scene in... What's the town? Blumpkin or what?
Blaviken.
Blumpkin.
Yeah.
Blumpkin sounds like a Witcher monster. Blaviken.
Yeah.
And you see Geralt just absolutely fuck these people up in it, and the action in that scene is amazing. I'm like, holy fuck, we're going hard in the paint on this show. Like, this is legit. And I had heard stories of, before the show came out, I'd heard someone tell me they'd heard a rumor that the action is like better than Game of Thrones, better than Vikings and all these other shows. Like their combat is just so well done. I was like, yeah, whatever. Sure it is. But you know,
it's really nice. I mean, the choreography for a start is so very Geralt, in the way that Geralt's fighting is almost like a dance, like the way that he like moves flow into the next one, and they show that so well in the choreography of the show. And on top of that, you've got, I mean, just the way that it looks very real, very convincing, you know, where the swords are like cutting through people and like he's fucking shoving it through their heads and shit, and then using like signs at the same time, so with the magic and everything. It's just, it feels very Witcher. It looks really fucking good just from the standpoint of like a medieval fantasy show. And it's incredibly good. It's easily up there with, you know, one of the top sort of action in shows of this nature, I think you could say.
Now, how did you find? Again, we'll base ourselves around the first episode for at least a while before we dive. How did you feel the pacing was this first episode, us jumping between Ciri and Geralt? Because we didn't see Yennefer until the second episode.
No, you don't, no. I really liked it, purely because I think it gave... I mean, the bits with Ciri progressively get worse and worse to this point where, you know, it's... You've got this, like, siege on the fucking city. I forget, what's the city called again? Sintra.
Yeah. Yes.
And...
Yep.
It's almost like when you first have those scenes with Ciri, you get these moments of levity where you're leaving Geralt and you're going somewhere else to experience something very different. And it's as the episode progresses, Ciri's bits get more and more, you know, action oriented and whatnot. But it's nice to have those different perspectives. And I don't know if I expected that to be the case. Like I don't know if what I expected of the structure of the show, whether because this is almost like a sort of Game of Thrones structure in that sense, where you have parallel stories running in different areas of the world, and well, not parallel stories running at all. They're all in different times, but we'll get on to talking about that, I suppose. But it's nice to have, I think, during an episode, it switch between different characters to see what different characters are doing and get insights into their story. And with Ciri and later on Yennefer being such main characters in the show, it gives you a chance to understand their characters more because you see them from a protagonist standpoint rather than just being a side character. Whereas in The Witcher 3, obviously, you're always playing as Geralt, so you have to see these other characters through Geralt's eyes. Whereas in the show, you get to see them through their eyes because they're the protagonist at that point, which is nice. So I really like that structure, and I think it works really well. It splits the episode up nicely, and I never felt like when it switched, I was like, oh, please go back. Because I think all of the storylines were so interesting that I was happy for it to switch and give me, you know, a break and give me another perspective and tell that part of the story and then switch back to Geralt or whatever. So I really like that, and I think it's done nicely in the first episode, establishes everything, and yeah, I think it's good. It's great.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with you. I think there were some episodes I had preferences of what character I was like, oh no, I want to see more of this, I want to see more of that, but that's just like storyline based. Some episodes are stronger than others for some characters, but the first episode or something that's big with the way we jump between perspectives, and this is what I thought watching the first episode. Again, I don't know anything. I had no idea what was going on, in the sense of I didn't know if we were doing book storylines or game storylines. I didn't even know the game and book storylines were different. I didn't know how it worked with The Witcher. At this point of watching the first episode, I sat down and watched the first episode with a big group of friends. And we watched it, and we're all kind of, you know, for some of it, quite confused of what was happening at certain points, just purely because, again, none of us had ever played a Witcher game. But I had this thought. I said it to my mates, I go, I don't think any of this is happening at the same time. Like I thought that from that first episode. I was like, this isn't happening at the same time. This is like, we're jumping timelines and they're going to meet somehow. I don't know how, but I just knew that whatever was happening to Ciri was long after whatever's happening to Geralt is.
Yeah, I think I caught on.
Did you think that, or was that something that...
It was... Okay. I think I thought it a few times. I was like, oh, these don't... It doesn't feel like they're running at the same time. But it was obviously... Was it episode 4 when they make it obvious, like it's a big reveal or whatever, that they're running at separate times? But I think it was the episode before that one where I realised. It's when Yennefer's at that party and you've got Foltest there or whatever. And it's very clear that that's a different time to the one that Geralt's in and the one that Ciri's in. And that's when I realised. And I really like that concept of it. I think it's really interesting to do. And obviously, by the end of it, everything's lined up and in the right place. But it's cool to see, because I think... Well,
you had to know by the second or third episode it was different. The timings are very different, just because Ciri's storyline's going day by day, and with Yennefer, we're skipping years, clearly years, very quickly.
Yeah, that was very clear from pretty much, like, I don't know, second episode or something, when Yennefer, like, she makes it pretty clear that it's been, like, decades or whatever since she was, since she became, like, a sorcerer or whatever. So... I think it's very interesting, a very interesting way of doing it, and it gives that sense of pacing of, like, short stories that are, like, stacked up against each other in a book, And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
quite like that. And obviously moving into season 2, it won't be like that. But I think it worked a lot for the pacing of this first season and establishing the world and characters and all those things. So I think it's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Yennefer. She's in The Witcher 3 as a character. I didn't know anything about Yennefer. I knew of Ciri. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure she's the girl that, like, the younger Geralt-looking girl in the game. Like, that's what I knew about Ciri. Whereas Yennefer, I'm like, I've never heard of this person. And I really didn't know where it was going with it, right? Because when we meet Yennefer, she's kind of deformed and this ugly-looking woman that's thrown aside by her own family to be sold to a witch.
Yeah.
And I was very sympathetic. I was almost in tears as soon as you met her. I don't know what this show did. I can't put my finger on it. And again, it's been probably a month since I've watched it, right? But I was really emotional straight away. I was so sympathetic. And I guess it's all credit to the acting. Who's the actress's name that played Yennefer? Do you know?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Yeah, but I was so sympathetic to this poor girl that just got cast aside by her father. And was like, oh, fuck, this is really sad.
Yeah.
And I was, in a lot of ways, probably my favourite character in the show was Yennefer for most of it. Because I was just so sympathetic to her character, so much of it, and wanted to see where she went. Because she had the biggest, obviously, character development and arc and change in this season. Whereas, of course, Geralt goes through a lot, emotionally speaking. And he does definitely change, but not as drastically as Yennefer. Neither does Ciri. Yennefer has this massive story arc and, you know, personality shift, and you see so much of her life. So she was someone that I was very interested in, especially for probably the first half of the show. And the fact that she's brought in the second episode, I'm like, okay, who is she? She's brought in the second episode. How does she get involved with any of this? And why is she important? I guess that was my big thing for quite a few episodes. I had no idea why she was important. As someone who's played Witcher 3 and only knew of Yennefer from The Witcher 3, you didn't see where she came from. Did you know that's how she started? What were your thoughts on Yennefer's story arc when they introduced her?
Oh, I thought it was super interesting. It was nice to see her rise to power. Like, because in The Witcher 3, when you first see her, like, she's this master sorceress. So it's really nice to see where she came from and, you know, how she develops into being this incredible sorceress, which is, it was probably one of my favorite arcs of the whole show is Yennefer's storyline from start to finish. I just think there's so much depth to it. It was so interesting. There's so many like ups and downs, emotional moments and whatever. It was very, very good. And I think they absolutely nailed Yennefer in terms of telling a compelling story, but also once she becomes that, you know, iconic Yennefer that everybody recognizes, I feel like the writing was there, and I also feel like the actress nailed the portrayal as well. It felt very much like Yennefer. I've seen a lot of people complaining like, oh, she doesn't look enough like Yennefer, whatever. I mean, for one, I think she does look like Yennefer, but also
I thought she did too. Maybe she's slightly more tan, but also, does it matter that much?
Yeah, it matters. No, it doesn't matter.
That she's not, does it matter that much that she's got a little bit of melanin in her skin? Does it really matter that much? Is the character the same?
The character is brilliant. Yeah. And she does look like Yennefer, I think.
I thought so.
She's just not quite as pale. And, you know.
But she has the same sort of features. Yeah. She has the similar features. Like, I jumped into The Witcher 3. I'm like, yeah, that looks like Yennefer.
Yeah. It does for sure. And, I think Yennefer probably was my favorite arc of the show. I think it was... Because, I mean, really, it is the only arc, in a sense. I don't know, like, Geralt doesn't have an arc, necessarily, other than his
arc is accepting
destiny or whatever.
Yeah, which is a pretty important arc, especially in this sort of show.
True, but it's a bit less heavy-handed. It's a bit less... It's like a background
Well, it's less obvious. It's certainly a far more of a... subconscious, no, not subconscious, that's not the right word, but
it's not like the central focus of his episodes, whereas the episodes, like the things that he does in episodes, lead him to eventually like believe in destiny or whatever, and you know, do that or whatever. It's
subtlety. It's a far more subtle storyline. That's the word. For some reason, I couldn't think of the word subtle. Like, I don't know why. I'm tired. It's been a long day. But yeah, that is an interesting storyline. Ciri, for me, was the weakest of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she has a very different storyline. Her storyline is, that child innocence and coming from privilege and then seeing the way the world really is, not as she has been told it is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And she's got to find her own destiny and trust in her own destiny and trust in people that, she doesn't know, and learn to maybe not trust the people she does know. It's she does have a complicated storyline, but not a lot happens to her, right?
Yeah, I feel like we just follow Ciri because we need to see what Ciri's doing more so than it's trying to tell a story. I mean, there's character development there in terms of we get to see the world through Ciri's eyes, and she's never really seen anything outside of Sintra necessarily. And she gets to learn about real people, and she gets to learn about the politics and the war, things that her mother's done with regards to like the elves and everything, and that's all interesting stuff. But on the whole, it's really, there's not a great deal of like story intrigue there as to like what will Ciri do, because Ciri is eventually going to find Geralt, or Geralt's going to find Ciri, so there was never much doubt there that that was going to happen. So when she gets into like close scrapes and you're like, oh god, is Ciri going to make it? Like, obviously Ciri's going to make it. But yeah, I really like her as a character, and I like what they did with her. I just can't wait to see her develop a bit more and see what stories they can tell using Ciri moving forward. Because leading out of season 1, there's obviously a lot more opportunity now because everything's lining up and Geralt's with Ciri and everything. So that'll be interesting moving forward.
Did you feel like there was a bit of tension lost in the fact that you knew none of these characters were going to die?
Potentially, but I guess that was never really the focus. I never felt like Geralt was in a position where like, oh god, is Geralt going to die? Because he sort of wasn't ever in that position. It was more a sort of, I think the tension was, how do you get from A to B story-wise? Like, how do these characters line up together? Are they ever gonna, like, is Geralt gonna find Ciri this season or not? Are they gonna like miss each other? What other characters might die? Because there's obviously a lot of other characters that they make you like or dislike or whatever, and it's then interesting to see what their fate is gonna be. I think it's always tough with something like this where Geralt isn't gonna die, and Ciri's not gonna die or whatever. So it's difficult to then have that investment in them. But I think they managed to do it very well, and I never sat there like, oh, this is boring because I know they're not gonna die here. But I don't know. What do you think?
I brought it up because it's interesting for me is, again, what I knew about the games is Geralt's love interest is Triss. I'd never heard of Yennefer. Yeah. So to me, I actually thought Yennefer might die. Oh. Because especially, you remember the prophecy, the fucking, gold dragon, right? And he goes, even though you don't want to lose her, you will. So to me, I thought, wait, is Triss a character that maybe in Geralt's past he lost? Is she like a love interest that he loses or something? Like, is that who Yennefer is? So to me, I actually had no idea whether she lived or died. And I didn't know, and even if she does live, does she die in the show? Is she a pre-show character? So again, for me, the tension was there up until I played The Witcher 3.
Interesting. That's an interesting way of looking at it, because obviously I knew, what happens all completely after the books with all of the games. So you sort of know the state of the world at that point and how the books have to end, which means obviously how the show has to end unless they decide to do game stories as well in the show. But that's interesting. Yeah.
I thought it was like an interesting note, because it would be quite different for most people who knew sort of what was going on. And I thought, oh, this show going to end and Yennefer's going to die. Oh, that'll suck. Like, I really, really like Yennefer. Side note, because we'll get back to the show, but as a person, I've asked you this before, but I just thought it's a good topic to bring up on Cinema Room, since we're talking about The Witcher. I haven't finished The Witcher 3, so I don't want spoilers or anything, but I know that there's choice storylines on whether you have a love interest or who you choose as your love interest, or even if you want to choose anyone. But who did you see in the games as Geralt's main love interest, and did the show change that at all?
Originally, because I played The Witcher 1, The Witcher 2, and then The Witcher 3. And when I went into The Witcher 3, Yennefer is this new character that's said to be like Geralt's true love. And I was like, no, fuck that, because I'm so used to Triss. And like I developed over the course of those games, like Geralt's relationship with Triss. And Yennefer just showing up, I was like, well, I've never read the books. I don't know who this bitch is. And she just felt, because Yennefer has this sort of, I don't know, the way she holds herself, she's very confident and very, it almost comes across as cold if you don't know her, because she's not as affectionate and, I mean, she is, but like Triss is obsessed with Geralt and like really into Geralt. Right. And so it's like, that attention is very different from the attention that Yennefer gives. And I just felt that Yennefer was just being a bit of a cunt most of The Witcher 3, because I didn't know her at all. So my original choice for that was Triss, because I was just so used to Triss. But after watching the show, I'm convinced that Geralt is meant to be with Yennefer. Like, they just fit each other so well. And after watching cutscenes from the games as well, after watching the show, I'm like, how did I miss that? Like, I should have picked Yennefer. It's so weird, but knowing more about her character and seeing that relationship develop in the show really sort of changed my mind on that whole thing. I'm like, how could I have gone with Triss? Like, I get it, but like, also, Yennefer's the one that he's meant to be with, especially because the whole plot point is they're like tied together by magic. And I mean, that's something I completely missed in the game as well. Like, there's a whole piece of dialogue about that plot point with the Djinn that we get to see in the show, that where Geralt binds them together with his final wish. And yeah, it's very interesting, but I'm way more like, when I replay The Witcher 3, which I will do for this retrospective I'm going to work on this year for the 5-year anniversary, I'm definitely going to have to switch that up and go with Yennefer as the love interest, especially just to see how it changes the overall story as well, because I feel like that's also probably canon if there is a canon choice.
Yeah, true. Well, for me, there's no choice because I barely know Triss at all, so it's a pretty obvious choice where I'm going to go as I play The Witcher. Witcher 3. Mm-hmm. And it's cool too as well, because I now have this, playing The Witcher 3 as an RPG, right? You choose how your character is, and people ask me, what sort of Geralt, how are you playing Geralt? And I say, I'm playing Geralt the way I see him in the show. Yeah. That's Geralt to me. Like, my Geralt is Henry Cavill playing Geralt, so the way I play him in the game is that way, where he's, his job is to be a Witcher, and he does it for money, but ultimately, when the moral need to do something is greater than the duty of money, he doesn't ask for money, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? He interferes where he feels is the right time to interfere, but when it's a job, it's a job. At the same time, there is this sort of code he has where it's a little blurry. It's not so black and white, right, of when he's going to take that money and when he's not. But there's certainly this element to him that he can let go of the profit of the job to do the right thing as well.
Yeah. And that's the way I play Geralt as well. It just feels right. And I mean, the good thing about The Witcher 3, just again off topic, but the good thing about The Witcher 3 is the way that it handles dialogue options. Is there's not like a good or a bad option when you're doing dialogue. It's not like you either be good or evil. It's like every option is viable. Every option is going to feel like Geralt, because it's all part of his personality, which is really how you do a really good RPG, especially when you've got a pre-established character anyway. Like, when you've obviously got an Elder Scrolls, it's different, but with a game like this where you've got Geralt and he's a character and he has principles and he has a moral code, all of the options have to feel like they can be a Geralt option, and that's what The Witcher 3 does so well, because you can pick to take the money or you can pick to not take the money, and both options will still feel like Geralt. It's just the different sides of him. And I like that a lot. It really handles dialogue options well. and that was entirely irrelevant. But there you go. There's my little analysis of The Witcher 3's dialogue options.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I definitely agree with that, and I've noticed that. I'll do a sort of video review on The Witcher 3 when I'm done with it. But, that a video of like, I finally played The Witcher 3. Here's my thoughts. Because it is that game that for the last 5 years people have been hounding me to play, and I've always said no. But it's this show, and ultimately how much I fucking loved this show. That's made me want to play the game, and I was like, as soon as I finished it. Like, I had this big list of games to play, right? And Witcher 3 was at the back line of that. But once I finished it, I was like dying to stay in the world. I was like, but I want to know what happens next, and I want to stay in the world of The Witcher. I enjoyed it so much that I was like, fuck this. I don't care if, Death Stranding is what I was about to play, or Modern Warfare, or whatever. I was like, I'm playing Witcher 3 now. Well, obviously now I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3 still, obsessively, but
Yeah.
And I'm sad that I don't have more Kingdom Hearts to play after the data battles.
To be honest with you, I mean, I still have obviously more to do with Horsey and Fox, but like, it's gonna be, I don't know. I hope the next game comes soon. Anyway, we're not talking about fucking Kingdom Hearts. What am I doing? Yeah, no, we're talking about The Witcher. The thing I loved about what The Witcher show did as well that we haven't talked about was sometimes when shows have a main story arc, right, and you want to know what's happening next, and you want to follow that story arc, and it diverts from that, it's annoying. The way this show does it is great world building, because it's always progressing the story arc forward, because somehow, you don't know how yet, but somehow all these three characters are connected and they're going to meet. You just don't know how yet. And you don't know how they're linked yet. At least I didn't. So in that way, you didn't necessarily have to have every single character moving that same story arc forward. You could have Yennefer moving forward or Ciri moving forward in an episode, and it'd be okay that Geralt's doing something different, because use Geralt in an episode to build the world by he's doing Witcher jobs. He's a Witcher contract. He's gone to a town. They've asked him help to destroy this monster. He meets these other characters along the side, and we get a whole episode out of that, and we learn more about what the people are like in the world. We learn more about how Geralt treats people in the world. We learn more about how the Witcher's reputation changing and Geralt's fame being built. And at the same time, in that story arc, you actually see Ciri progressing forward and moving on towards trying to find Geralt, because that's what her mission is through this series. So as long as you have sort of one or two of the characters pushing the story forward, I never got annoyed that Geralt especially was kind of doing his own thing in some episodes. Yeah.
How did you feel about it? People told me, and I probably agree, that it feels like it's like them kind of dealing with side missions in the story. Did you feel like it did a really good job of doing that?
I think so.
Or do you think that it was distracting from the show, I guess?
No, not at all. I think it was great world building, like you said. And it felt very much almost like the way Game of Thrones handled world building in its earlier episodes when it had to build out the world. You have a lot of different arcs doing a lot of different things, a bunch of different storylines, none of which feel like they're connected. They're all separate little things, but it really builds your immersion in this world. And I think that's what The Witcher does really well with Season 1, is there's a lot of disconnected stories and plots happening from episode to episode or character to character. And I think it's used so well to build out this world of The Witcher, whether that be, the palace in Sintra, or whether that be, some tavern in the middle of nowhere, or a town that's being, attacked by a monster, or whatever it is. It really manages to build out this world and the state of the politics, and you've got these different armies as well, and their conflict in Ciri's time. And it just feels really good, and it makes by the end of it, you just feel very immersed in this world. And I can't wait to go into Season 2 knowing all of these places and where they are and all that stuff, and see the world be built out more, and re-explore it as well. It almost feels like a game in the way that it builds out the world, making it feel very immersive and real, and that's really nice. It's always good to have that from a medieval fantasy piece of media, whether that be a game, movie, or TV show.
Yeah, it also, what I love so much about, sure, our three main characters are the ones we're following, so their perspective, the Ciri, the Yennefer, the Geralt, but they still nailed and managed to build up a lot of supporting characters with a very short amount of time, right? Like there's 8 episodes, and they're decently long, but you've got 3 characters with a lot of character development to do, a lot of story to push through, and they managed to build and write really well a lot of side characters. One, though, that slipped through the cracks that I didn't realize it was her until the end was Triss.
Yeah. She's a
bit... Triss Merigold's in the show, but also...
She's very... In the show, she's, like... not good, to be honest with you. She's like the only thing I'm a bit confused about why she was handled the way that she was. She's not really a character, whereas in the books, I've been told by people, I haven't read the books, but I've been told in the books, in the stories that they're telling in the games from the book, wait, let me start that again. In the stories that they're telling in the show from the books, Triss is quite a prominent character, and she really gets involved in a lot of it. Whereas in the show, she's a very, very much a background character. I reckon they'll utilize her more in the future, but she's the only character that really, doesn't even look like Triss, and so far we haven't had a chance to really feel the character either, so I'm not into Triss at the minute. But who knows, that could change down the line. She could improve and be a lot better. But as of now, I'm not a huge fan.
What's the name of the bard?
Jaskier,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's
in the game, he's called Dandelion.
Dandelion, right.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on him?
Oh my god, I love him so much. He's one of the best characters. I love just the way, the actor does a brilliant job, but just the way he's so... his relationship with Geralt as well is so very similar to the relationship you see in the games. And I love him. Every single scene he's in is fantastic. His little sarcastic remarks or little, I don't know, I guess you could call it fourth wall breaks at times, where he's, commenting on how ridiculous the decision is that Geralt's made or whatever, almost like the audience could be. It's great. And, of course, the fucking song that came out of the show as well that he sings that is also taking over my life is great too. So I absolutely love him.
Dude, yeah, the song, when watching the show, I was like, oh, this is great. Now it's too much. I'm like, oh, stop it. Stop it. I love like it.
Oh no, I love it so much. It's such a great song. They should use it in The Witcher 4. Use it for the teaser trailer or something.
How dare you?
That'd be epic.
Absolutely, how dare you?
This is upsetting. A classic Tyler move to not like a good thing. I don't like Clone Wars.
Okay, you know what, James? How is that a Tyler thing? How's that a Tyler thing?
Classic you. Bad taste. I don't like Daredevil sucks, the Clone Wars bad, and Ahsoka's no good, and Toss a Coin to Your Witcher is not a good song. That's the 3 things you're known for in the community now. I've made it official here today.
You know what, fuckface? You know what? That is a ridiculous statement. Ridiculous.
It's a true statement.
False statement, and I resent it. I resent the statement.
You can resent it.
It's not true.
But it's a true statement.
It's not true. It's not a true statement.
I've confirmed it.
Because I didn't say I didn't like Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. I'm just saying people are ruining the song because it's a good song and I liked it.
Okay. I'll take that.
And Daredevil does suck.
Nah, you've got to ruin it.
Go suck me off. And I never said Clone Wars sucks. I just said I don't want to watch Clone Wars. I don't want to watch Clone Wars because I don't watch cartoons. I've never said sucks. I've never talked shit about Clone Wars. But I hate your fucking Daredevil show because it does suck, and that's why I got cancelled. That's why Punisher got cancelled. That's why Jessica Jones got cancelled. That's why Luke Cage got cancelled because they suck. If they were good, they would have been cancelled. But they're piles of shit shows. Iron Fist, all those shows, they're shit shows. That's why they get cancelled. And if it was so good, where is it, James?
No,
where is your cancelled pile of shit show?
There are some great shows that get cancelled.
Name one.
Daredevil.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Baited. Absolutely ripped to shreds. Anyway, back to an actual good show. The Witcher.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what was your favourite episode?
Oh, my favourite episode.
Of the show.
Let me go look at the episode list real quick. I think it could have been episode 4. But,
was that when you realised it's a time jump? They show when Geralt gets
I believe so.
Gets the lore surprise, or not claims it.
I think so. Where he goes to the party and there's all that shit and everything. Is that one? My favourite
is episode 6 when they go looking for the dragon.
That's a good episode. I like that too.
I enjoy that because I enjoy Yennefer's story arc with Geralt throughout that episode a lot. It's my favourite sort of interaction with them. And also, I love that there's all the side characters in that episode. Like the old man, the dwarves. There was just so much in that episode. It was a great balanced episode with humour, drama, and great character moments. I really enjoyed it. Episode 6. That's my favourite episode.
That's a very good one as well.
The finale's obviously very good.
No, it's great. I think episode 5 is also a great one. Where
what's episode 5?
Geralt meets Yennefer for the first time, and they have they have the whole bit with the djinn, and then
yes,
that's cool. That's a cool episode. I enjoyed that a lot.
If it isn't weird, they meet in 5, and then in 6 is when they like sort of separate. But you're already so convinced of their love for each other. That's weird. I felt like it was heaps of episodes that we developed that.
Yeah, I thought so too. I didn't even think about that. That's weird.
That is weird, because I was so invested in their sort of romance by that point already, and that's only 2 episodes. That's that's well done. Good for them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I loved about Yennefer a lot was I loved her backstory and how much you got to learn about mages in the world and magic through her story arc. Because there's so much you learn about the world, but I feel like you find out so much. You find out about politics through Ciri. You find out about magic through Yennefer, and that's so cool. Whereas Geralt, you find out a bit about people, the regular people, a bit about the places because he travels a lot, a bit about the monsters. It's kind of you learn a lot of variety of things, but Yennefer, I loved learning about how magic worked in this world.
Yeah,
and how the mages, the whole mage groups work, and how they're sort of like they kind of are like the Illuminati and control all the background politics of everything, and nothing goes down without them kind of having a say in who should be in power and who should rule and what army should win a war. I found that very, very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I like it very much.
Trying to think of before we get into the finale, were there any other big points of note that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like we're going to miss something, and there's going to be someone in the comments being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you didn't talk about this specific moment." But I think we've gone over most just the general stuff.
Oh, I did enjoy what episode was? I think it was 3, where the cursed daughter, and he changed her back into human.
Oh yeah.
In that old church. That was a really good episode. That was a fun one. Shout out to that episode. Shout out to that episode.
That is very cool. I believe that whole section is I could be wrong about this, but that whole section is the opening CGI cutscene they use for The Witcher 1. Or it was a trailer for The Witcher 1 or something. And it's taken from like a story in the first book, and they just turned it into a CGI scene and used it as a trailer or intro cutscene for The Witcher 1, the game, which is cool.
That is cool. That's very cool. No, I had no idea.
Right,
nice. Right, very interesting. Well, it's a great part of the show. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good episode.
Cool. Now, into the finale. By this point, Yennefer and Geralt have separated, gone their own ways. Yennefer is now... Nilfgaard are about to head into the Northern Realms. Their armies are taking over, and they're chasing after Ciri. Yeah, okay, James, we get it. Yeah.
There's a bit of delay on this call. I don't know if you can hear it. but it's really fucking me up. A
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah, is it really? Okay. Well, I think the delay came from my internet was fucked, and it kind of delayed you saying something. Like, you were kind of saying it, you cut it, and then you finish the sentence, and I'm like, oh, we've been on the back foot since that moment.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad we pointed that out, our tech issues.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know because when I sync up the audio, there's going to be big gaps in between me saying something and you responding. I just wanted everyone to know why.
Yeah, cool. Fair enough. Yennefer, the Nilfgaard, you're about to head to the Northern Realms. Yennefer is working with the mages and kind of comes to her big sort of story arc and accepting who she is and the bad things that happen to her and her role in all of this and what she has power over and what she doesn't have power over. She has such a complicated story arc and there's so many cool bits to it, but her really not being so selfish and helping others was cool. And the mages defending the crossing over to the northern realms against Nilfgaard. You've got Ciri close by to that situation, as well as Geralt is now looking for Ciri because he turns out when that what's the place called, the Ciri's hometown,
Asintra
was attacked. Geralt was there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, that was nice seeing all that line up.
And then he goes looking for him. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So
he does do that.
And then he gets into a bit of trouble. He's kind of bitch in the finale, I must say, because he's kind of like just dying for half of it.
Yeah, true. Because he gets fucked up right at the beginning, doesn't he? And then that sort of fucks him up for the whole episode, where he's just laying in the back of a cart. But I suppose that is how it be sometimes. So,
I mean, I guess it is how it be sometimes. I don't know if it's that. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's great, James. I'm really glad that's how it be sometimes.
Thank you. That's why I come here to give the best cinema insight that I possibly can. You're welcome.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I appreciate it. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck was Ciri doing in the finale? I'm trying to remember. She was she got attacked, and then all the guys that attacked her died because she squealed or something, and then...
Yeah, I don't think she's in the final episode for much. I'm just skimming through it now. I can't see her.
It's mostly Yennefer.
Mostly Yennefer, and then it flicks back to Geralt sometimes. And then Ciri's at the very end. Oh, Ciri's with that bloody family. She's taken in by that woman, and the woman's like, I never had a daughter before. And Ciri's like, oh no, I've been kidnapped.
Oh no. Yeah.
She runs away. And then just as she fucking runs away, the bloke comes in with Geralt on the cart. And it's like, well, that stressed me out.
Yeah, right.
But that's like a side story. I guess Geralt, like, ending up with Ciri and what Ciri's doing at that point is like a side storyline, whereas the main story that's really happening in this episode is the big battle and Yennefer's involvement, I guess.
Yeah, right, okay. What did you think of that battle? The visual effects in the show were quite good for the most part. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the battle and the way the mages did it? Because that was a quick build-up storyline, right, in terms of like the action specifically. Where were you at with that? It was good.
Yeah.
But a little predictable of who was kind of going to die and who wasn't. The only thing for me is I was a little skeptical in terms of I didn't know if Yennefer was going to die or not, because I didn't know, of course, what happened in the games.
Yeah, it was good. Like, it was a good battle scene. Like, it was all done very well. It looked really nice and everything. It was fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a great deal of stakes. Like, it's, a big final battle in the final season. It was pretty clear who was going to come out on top, and what was going to happen, who was and wasn't going to die. I don't think it was. I think it was pretty clear to me. So there was never that tension there. But it was a really fun battle sequence, and it looked really nice. And I think it shows where they're going with it, and the scenes we could possibly see in future seasons like some really big scale battles. I mean, when they've got more budget and when there's more tension and build up and stakes on the line for things like that, I think we could have some really incredible big battles. But I mean, this one was fun. It was good.
It was good. It was fun. How did we get to? Did Yennefer and Geralt didn't meet at the end of the episode, did they?
No.
So Yennefer wins. They stop Nilfgaard, and but Geralt's trying to get to her and he doesn't. He ends up at that family's house, and he just starts searching through the forest because he realizes that Ciri's must be there for some reason. You know, it's that whole destiny thing that this game spent a lot of time building up. Yeah, sorry, this fucking show. I keep confusing them. But the only weird thing to me, right, is Ciri's running away from the house, right?
Yeah.
And then Geralt just wanders straight from the house into this first forest bit, and then she's running back towards him.
Maybe she sensed
that part
him as
didn't
well.
make sense. Yeah, but no.
I'm just gonna say yeah, because otherwise, what's the other option? That they just had her running the other way? I don't know. Maybe she got lost, like fucking Winnie the Pooh in the woods when he's like just goes around in a big circle. Maybe it's like that.
I mean, yeah, it could be like that. It is just how it be sometimes.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, it's just how it be. But you know, there it is. There it is, just how it be. Overall, James, how do you feel about The Witcher?
I love it. Good show. 10 out of 10. No, maybe not 10 out of 10. That's not a real rating, but it's real good, and I like it a lot. And I cannot wait for season 2. Really great show.
Excellent. I absolutely adored the show. Honestly, one of my favorite Netflix shows. Yeah, it's up there. It could be the next. It could be the next Game of Thrones. Who's to say?
It's already better than Game of Thrones.
Got him, James. You're the fucking man.
Did him in, didn't I?
You
really
did do him in.
Pulled the rug from under him.
Yeah. Yeah, you did it, didn't you?
I did it.
You did it. No, I love the show, and I absolutely love the world of The Witcher. It was a great introduction for me. I obviously heard so much good things about it. I'm so glad I'm now involved in the discussion when it comes to The Witcher. Can't wait for the second season and to continue playing The Witcher 3 and get that experience under my belt. So, all very, very exciting in my perspective. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are our thoughts on The Witcher season. Let us know what you thought, whether it be in the comments on YouTube, on Twitter. Leave us, again, reviews for the Mmmmmm podcast. We talked about this last episode, about what you need to do to leave us those reviews on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and all that sort of stuff, and we'll read them out next Mmmmmm. So, go do that. And, of course, we'll see you... depending on what you're watching on, if you're on Patreon, see you next week for Clubhouse. If you're in the public, we'll see you next week for the As Always podcast, but you should join Patreon. Shouldn't they, James?
We should. You should. We shouldn't. We run it.
Yeah,
but you should join.
We do run it, yeah.
But you should join it. Nope, you shouldn't run it. You should join us on Patreon for just $1 a month. To thank our Patreon producers, we've got Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, DIDDLOTIC, and Seth. You're bloody fantastic, helping us keep things bloody going, aren't you? You're great. And if you want to join them and everybody else for just $1 a month over on patreon.com/asalways, you get early access to this podcast a week before it goes out on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud and Spotify, which is something you always want, as well as exclusive access to the Clubhouse podcast, which is the best podcast that exists.
It is the best podcast that exists. That's true.
And
you
want to be in on it. You do want to be in on it. If you're not in on it, you're a bit of a loser. So really, you just need to head over to patreon.com/asalways and get in on some of that. Get a slice of that cake. You love it. And to thank everybody.
Just say a slice of that cake.
Yeah, it's a big cake. As always, it's a big cake, and we have slices. We've got the Mmmmmm slice, we got the Clubhouse slice, and we got. Those are the only two slices that we have so far.
I'm even
like
wearing
halves of a cake.
Yeah, I'm even wearing my Clubhouse shirt right now. It's very exciting.
Great.
So we've got merch. That's another slice you can have.
Yeah, exactly. That's another slice.
Yeah, there's a lot of slices.
There's a few slices. There's some slices. Go over there and check out all the slices. Thank you, everybody. There's pledging $5 or
I want
more.
a shirt now of a cake and slices at different parts.
Oh, we've done it. We've done it. That's a new meme.
Yeah.
Great.
No,
okay.
No, it's not. It's not a new meme.
It's a new meme, and someone's gonna make that. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Everybody that's pledging $5 or more, thank you very much. We have got Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, DIDDLOTIC, Seth, Bullsack47, Casey Wood, Pink Flame through and 3, Adam Sundling, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, Mario 5380, The Creed, Josh J. Anderson, Brendan LBQ Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik Gaming, Summer Dylan, Zickson, Benedict Parker Returns, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Max H. Gene, Owen Brayne, Zeek Collins, Harrissey, Batassassin, Noah Watts, FuriousCoco, Sab2557, the ACMJS, Kacper Korol, Kassassin, Kyle, Sjors, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Walshy, Ginko Swag, That's How It Be Sometimes, Master Bass, Ashton is a big fan of Mace Windu the character, Amir the Synth Potato, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, Iron Man's for the Dads, Luca, Alfie Rodbert, Brian Ford, Fishy, and Ben Fryer. And I'm aware I read out a name there that I wasn't meant to read out, but we're fine. Don't worry about it. You'll never know which one it was. Incredible. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room podcast.
And we'll see ya next time.
We'll see you later.
I don't know what it'll be, either The Mandalorian or you.
You got more votes,
Season 2.
didn't it?
But well, I mean, there's still time. People could vote between now and then because The Witcher just absolutely slaughtered the voting. So, but you right now is probably next based on the votes.
Ooh.
So you season 2 will be the next episode. Make sure you watch you season 2.
Yeah.
And The Mandalorian because they're both the next 2 episodes.
Cool.
So go do it. Go do it. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see ya next time.
See you later, boys. Bye bye.